Good morning, Santa Fe Community College. I would like to thank all of the staff, faculty, and especially the students for tuning in today. I am joined today by Dr. Becky Rowley, and we are going to be addressing some serious questions that have been commonly asked upon the student body. For those of you that do not know, my name is Widrick Martinez, and I'm the Student Government Association President of Santa Fe Community College. My job is really to represent all of the questions and concerns within the student body and get those addressed to the best of my abilities. At this time, I would like all students to know that SFCC really is here to support all of you. Not only as SGA, but the wonderful staff, faculty, and administration that works at Santa Fe Community College are all here for you. I would like it to be known that tomorrow, April 10th, Friday, student government will be having another care package distribution containing a Cornish hen, 1 can of green beans, 1 can of corn, a package of mashed potatoes, and some gravy, as well as some other things thanks to the campus cupboard to supply to our student body through these, hard times. I know it's a really rough time for everybody, and we want to make sure that everyone's supported. Students' resources are available to you. You may check the SFCC COVID-19 website regarding all of our resources that are there for you. Now, with that being said, I would like to bring in Dr. Becky Rowley now with me. Now, Dr. Rowley, I know we work really tight together, and I haven't seen you in a long time, and it's really nice to see your face. Really nice.
You too, Ian.
Thank you. It's really nice to see your face. How are you doing is my first question for you. How are you doing through this transition? I know it's an odd time right now.
It's a very odd time. And so I've talked to a lot of people and asked them the very same question that you're asking me. And I think, first of all, that it's really good that we check on each other. And, it sounds like it wouldn't be that bad. So you're going to stay at home and you're going to work from home and go to school from home. But, when you think about depending upon your situation, whether you're stuck at home by yourself or you're stuck at home with a whole bunch of other people, it's a really difficult thing to adjust to. And so I feel like I'm kind of starting to establish a routine and get a rhythm with all of these meetings through Zoom or Microsoft Teams or something. I do a lot of conference calls during the day. I have been able to get out most days and go for a run or do something like that. Just, kind of around where I live. And so that keeps me somewhat sane. But other than that, it really is just kind of learning how to deal with the way things are. And I've kind of gotten to the point too where, when this first started, I was watching all the news and thought I needed to know exactly what was going on. And I still want to know exactly what's going on, but I figured out that you don't have to hear that 10 times a day. And so finding something like that out and then knowing, okay, this looks like this is the direction we're going with this and everything is helpful and good, but too much of it is just overwhelming. And so, for anybody who feels like they just can't stand hearing about this all the time, I think it's okay to kind of mute that a little bit, put it in the background. You'll find out what's going on. And, sometimes you can find interesting new things to do, and we just kind of have to make the best of it.
Exactly. I know for myself, I've picked up a lot of new hobbies during this time. Just nice. I'm
what?
Paint. I'm starting to paint, and I'm starting to, I've written a lot of, what's going on. I feel while this has gone on, I can feel all of the earth. I feel like, everyone's off. And so, I've just tried to find new things to keep me going, because I don't know about you, but right now being at home working feels very optional, and school feels very optional, and that's not a good thing. So the most important thing for me to keep in mind, and the students to keep in mind, is that we're still moving, we're still continuing along. This is, normal procedure, just in a new normal.
Yeah, and I would say, you're right. I mean, I would say that, work doesn't generally feel like an option for me, because I have a whole lot of things, like this, where somebody is expecting to communicate or connect with me at a certain time. So I have to be there to do that. And, now if I was home just without meetings or something, and I was just supposed to get things done, that would probably be a different story. So my advice, and I've always kind of had to do this from when I was a student through my days as a faculty member, I'm pretty big on a routine. Some people might even say that, my routine can become kind of rigid. And it's certainly changed now, but I'm still, I feel like I need a routine. And so, you start your day at a certain time, and, I have certain meetings though, that whether I was at work in my office or here or whatever, I would be having that same Tuesday 9 o'clock meeting or something like that. So there's like the framework for that routine that's there. And then I've been trying to, not do stuff like, stay up really late watching TV and then have a hard time getting up in the morning and things like that, where, when you don't actually leave your house, it's a little bit more tempting to try to do things like that. But it's important to try to feel like you get things done too, because I think that having that sense of accomplishment of, getting assignments done, making progress on your class, studying for your tests and things like that makes you feel better. I think you don't feel quite so disoriented and, so much like you're floundering thinking, what is this and when is it going to end and what are we doing next and all of those things that honestly we don't really have any control over. Very good answers for at this point, but we can be doing things right now to, kind of control our own destiny and feel like, okay, I can get this done. And you think, okay, this was a really weird time, but I finished all my classes and I did well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm very surprised at how well the shift of moving to online has gone for us. For me, I'm still having most of my meetings as when, we got word that we weren't going to be returning to school. I thought, oh, well, how are we going to continue to meet? And we meet and we have the tools to meet, which is good.
We do.
How do you feel the faculty's transition has been to online for classes?
I think overall it's been really, really good. So, we had a lot of classes that were already online, and so those just, kind of go on the way they were, and everybody who signed up for those signed up for one at the beginning of the semester, and they were expecting to do that. But I fully admit it is very difficult, and it would be very difficult for me as a teacher or a student to have something like this happen and then people say, okay, well, you got to get your class online as soon as possible. And you're a student and maybe you've never taken an online class and they're saying, now your class is going to be online. Yep. Or, but what's been surprisingly good to me is that, we know that we want to ramp up the capacity that we have to train faculty and to train students to be a little bit more proficient at working online. And so that was something we were working towards anyway. But the people that we have right now have done a terrific job of helping faculty come up with new ideas or get their stuff online and then answer student calls and try to help students, because, we all think that as far as online learning platforms go, Canvas is pretty intuitive. You can kind of figure it out. But if you've never done it before, it's still scary. And, I just think that we have to make allowances for people to adjust and be willing to help each other and offer suggestions. And so I've often been copied on emails where faculty are trying to help other faculty and somebody comes up with what they think is a good idea. And so they'll share it with their colleagues. And there have been areas where I thought, man, these guys are really going to have a hard time. And they surprise the heck out of me and they come up with something really cool. Yeah. And people are, the way we can use video now and things, it's just, if this had happened 10 years ago, we'd be pretty much shut down.
Yeah.
But now it's really impressive what people can do to keep things going. And then sometimes, you hear stories about students that maybe have not had that much experience online, but the better designed the course is, sometimes you find that there's more interactivity with the instructor because you're not sitting in a room full of people where the loud people drown out the quiet people. And, if you're one of the quiet people, you never really get to say anything, or that happens a lot. And I don't think we think about that enough. But online, it doesn't happen so much. And so everybody can ask questions through a chat. Everybody can, sometimes everybody has to pose questions and answers. And so if you are a little bit more on the quiet or shy side or a little bit more intimidated, I mean, this can be an opportunity where all of a sudden your teacher's like, whoa, who knew you had all these great ideas? You never said anything before. It's a totally different opportunity.
It truly is a completely different opportunity. And another thing I would like to thank the faculty for is being so involved and wanting to help students, get jump started on the online courses. There are some classes, or there are some students that have, no online class experience. So that is a huge issue. So I would like to just commend the faculty. They've, I believe, done an amazing job in guiding students and guiding us to success.
It really, they've done a great job, and everybody's been really, trying to keep everybody on track, and, come on, you can do it, because, sometimes my biggest fear was that people were going to go, this is too much. I cannot deal with all this stuff, and I need to just not do this. And there may be situations like that, but I think a lot of times when you give it a little time, kind of see what this is really going to be like, and then make contact with your instructors and see what they can do to help you, and kind of see how things are going to go forward, you'd be surprised at how most of the time you really can figure out a way to navigate through that. But one thing, Ian, that we're going to do in the future, and this situations like this kind of reveal things that maybe we thought about it but just hadn't gotten around to it. But we need to have a really good orientation for students who are taking classes online, and it can be an online orientation, or it can be, we can offer it both ways. But there should be some things to kind of walk you through the basic tools and kind of get you, people have different expectations about what online learning is like. Some people think you can just do it whenever you want to, and it never occurred to them that people have assignments that are due on specific days, and they would prefer that you turn your assignments in on those days. Yep. Some classes let you work ahead all the way to the end, some don't. So it's just kind of good to have some expectations before you get started. And in a better situation, when you don't have to do everything within a week, right, that will happen.
Good. I'm glad that that training's starting to be thought of, because I think it's necessary.
It is.
Now, given our situation, and given our situation could last for quite a while, how is this really going to impact SFCC moving forward? Not only SFCC moving forward, but how is this going to impact the student life? Are we going to continue to take online courses? How is that going to kind of look?
So I can give you what I think is, what we're looking at, but know, full well that I could be dead wrong. and that I'm just kind of, going on what I hear from my peers and from our state agencies and things. So a lot of people think that this will continue in some form into the summer. Maybe not the extreme, you got to stay locked up in your house and stuff like that kind of thing that we're doing right now, because good is what I say too. So what we're doing for courses in the summer is that we're planning on running almost exclusively online courses from the start. That way you don't have this disruption that we have to work with. Plus, some are shorter, so the disruption during the summer is a lot. It's harder to deal with. So there will be some lab work that's done in some trades courses, and I've been talking with Dr. Bustamante about figuring out how we can allow, like fewer than 5 people to be in the welding lab or something with the instructor, and they would have to stay 6 feet away from each other right now, and have the proper. I think what they have is probably more than the proper protective gear. But in some programs like that, where they can maybe do a little bit of their coursework online, but there's no substitute for a lot of the hands-on, especially with welding. I mean, you've got to really have that in your hands and learn how to use it. We can't do this virtually. But it's also interesting to find out that, like the automotive program was doing a whole lot online before this ever even happened. And so there are more situations like that than what we knew. So knowing that we need to be able to provide for that contingency, that we won't be able to work face to face, then there's much more of a focus on having the capacity to do things online. And then if we don't really need to, and as we, get the go ahead, the all clear signal from the governor's office, then we will gradually have kind of a slow reopening, which I think will start during the summer in terms of letting people, back in their offices, come back to work and do all of that. I expect that will be happening on kind of a staggered approach and everything. And then we'll see what happens in the fall. There are predictions that this could get better in the summer, and then there could be waves of resurgence in the fall. I don't know. I'm not an epidemiologist, and so, all I know is, like I said, I try to watch a little news, but not so much news that you feel like you're going to lose your mind or something. But that does seem to be kind of the prediction. And so we need to make sure that, what we have learned during this is that there are classes that people said that can't be online. That just cannot be online. And then they find out, oh, it can be online. And it can actually be online pretty well. And so now people, have that time to be able to figure out, okay, I've done this class online, but it would have been better if I would have had this particular lab segment done a different way. You have a little bit of time to figure those things out, find out how some other people have done it, and go forward. And that's what we're going to have to do. But we will still, we will have face-to-face classes again. Absolutely. I just can't give you a date on when that'll be.
Of course, sadly not. Now, a lot of students, they're taking pottery, woodworking, something that has to do with a project where they're working with the project in class. That came to a halt when this order came. Of course, we're all at home, and some students don't have the proper tools to work on their projects at home. That project could be a huge part of their grade. So if they don't have the tools necessary or resources necessary or instruction necessary, will the student be able to continue the course coming back in the fall?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, and maybe even in the summer, depending upon, who the instructor is and what we can work out and everything. But no, I know some, like art instructors have allowed students to go in and get materials and things, but some of those courses are still easier to do that kind of work at home. I mean, probably nobody has a kiln at home or something like that, where you can keep going on that. So yes, we will make arrangements, and we'll make arrangements and working it out with the faculty so that we can let students complete all that. And then, so they may have to get an incomplete or something if we have to turn in a grade right now. And then they can, finish that up, and that'll be something that they just need to work with their instructor and see what the best option is for them.
Okay, so I assume that incomplete grade and revisiting it, at a different time goes for the same students who are working on Kids Campus, working for their, I am not sure what they are called, so excuse me for looking at my phone.
No.
Practicums?
Yes.
Okay, so, some students are concerned about working at Kids Campus. The order came into place, and they're not able to complete their practicums. I'm assuming it would be the same.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. So Kids Campus has, we've talked about a slow reopening there in the summer. Okay. And so that's hopefully what we're going to get to do. And the practicum, it's kind of like a clinical or something in allied health where you have to be at a site. We're just fortunate that, for our for people in the ECE program, that we have a site of our own that we can send our students to for that kind of clinical work. So all students who are doing that kind of on-site clinical work right now are kind of in a holding pattern because hospitals aren't letting our students in right now, whether they're nursing, respiratory, and this is going on all around the state. It's not a Santa Fe Community College problem. But I will say that for nursing, our current students that were set to graduate in May will be graduating in May.
Good.
So they have done enough clinical work already to where they have met the mandate, and so they will be allowed to they'll be able to graduate in May. And we've been getting a lot of pressure from other kinds of groups around the state because there's such a nursing shortage right now. I mean, there was anyway. And then you put something like this on top of that, and now there's really a nursing shortage. And so it seems like the dumbest thing that we could do would be to take a whole bunch of people that are right about to graduate and then say, nope, you can't graduate yet. We're going to have to wait. So we've been encouraged to figure out ways that we can help them graduate any way we can. So there's some leeway with the requirements for clinical in terms of using simulation and actually sending people to a physical location that people are trying to work with all around the state. But here at SFCC, our students that are set to graduate this May will graduate.
Awesome. That's good news.
Yeah, that was a giant relief to me.
That's really good news. Now, as for the nursing program, it is my understanding, and I could totally have this wrong, that students wishing to get into the nursing program have to apply the semester before they enter. Is that correct? So some students have applied and they're wondering if they've been accepted or not. Is the nursing program still happening for fall? Are applications being reviewed? Are students being called to be notified about them getting into the program?
So I spoke with Jenny Landon about this just a little while ago, and she said that the process, that their assumption was that the process would proceed as normal. What I don't know is whether there's a date by which, they usually, there's a date you have to have all your stuff turned in by, and then they review. But one of the things I think that I suspect, and I could be wrong, but I'm kind of going on my past experience here. They probably don't notify people until the summer and maybe even late in the summer, because sometimes people need their grades from this semester. So for example, if you are taking like microbiology or an A&P class or something this summer and you need that grade, you can go ahead and apply, but they need your grade to figure in and see if how that works with your whole admissions process. So that's probably what is, it makes the process take a while. If you can send everything in and then they'll go back and, check your grades and see how you did and everything. Right. But usually there's there's a summer notification process for a fall start in nursing. And we have every intention of keeping that the way it's been.
Right. Great. Now, as for our non-traditional students taking fitness classes, will there be refunds available for the second half of this semester that they're not able to take the course?
What we're doing is giving them a credit for a future class, to take the class again. Okay. So, some of them have, people approach this in all kinds of different ways. Some people are kind of annoyed that we have to do this and they want to take their exercise class no matter what. And other people are really kind of freaked out by this whole thing, and they're not comfortable going in the building, and they may not be comfortable going in the building for a while. So we are hoping towards the end of the summer, we may be able to, add in some fitness classes depending upon what the governor's mandates have been, what the whole, the counts in our area seem to be and everything. But anyone who was not able to return to class this semester, who wants a credit to come back, take the class again for free, will be able to do that. That's
amazing. That's really amazing. Seriously, thank you all so much for working with the students throughout this.
It's a terrible thing to have your education disrupted like this right in the middle. And this is, I don't know, no one has ever experienced this before in our lifetimes, no matter how old you are. And so I think that, we're just really kind of struggling to do the best that we can for our students and, do the best that we can for all of the people that work at SFCC and keep everybody safe. Let everybody continue to do their job from home as much as possible and try to provide the best experience we can for our students in the format that we have to do it right now.
Right, right. And I think we're doing an amazing experience. And like you said, some people are really scared to, just leave the house, which is totally understandable. As for all of the other healthcare programs at SFCC, are those still on track for the fall semester?
Yes, there was a little bit of a concern with paramedic, but we received word from their accrediting agency that they are going to make some allowances on the number of clinical hours that they have to have, because it's the clinical piece that is giving everybody, fits right now. Any allied health can convert their curriculum online if they don't already have it online as easy as anybody else, but they can't do clinicals in facilities because facilities won't let them come. And a lot of that has to do with the lack of personal protective equipment. And they, if they already don't have enough for their employees, then they don't want to have students coming in and having them take what, they don't even have anyway. That's part of it. So, but they think now that they're going to be just fine. And so they will graduate students. I believe they graduate at the end of the summer and, or maybe the fall. And then they'll be on track to accept their new cohort.
Amazing. Awesome. That's wonderful. Now, as in regards to, as this moves along further, I assume we need to put a plan in action as to how students get books.
Yeah.
So as, the process moves along, are we looking at opening up the campus, allowing a certain number of students in to purchase books? I'm not sure if you've put any thought into that process. How is that process going to look?
We have, and we'll have to, start with something like that where students can come out and, kind of like the way the grocery stores will, let a few people in at a time. We'll do something like that. It kind of depends upon, what the timing is after May 15th or whatever. The other thing that we really need to do, and that, I'm really, kind of pushing everyone to do, is that we need to have an online platform so that you can buy your book online from the bookstore. And then the bookstore can mail you your book and you don't have to leave. You can, and especially, some of our students, they live kind of far away. And it would be nice if you didn't have to make a trip, and you probably, do those kinds of things where it coincides with other trips. But it would be nice to be able to order your books, because that's kind of the standard that we're used to in most other retail sectors and everything. So I think that we need to get to the point quickly where we're able to do that too. So we will be working on that. And now I think they did some online ordering, like where you could email them and tell them what you needed, and they could do something like that. But that's a pretty slow system.
Right. And I appreciate you guys looking at a system like that. I think that is something needed.
Yeah.
I believe a lot of students have difficulties getting their books in the bookstore, or like you said, a lot of our students are commuter students. They're traveling from Los Alamos, Albuquerque, Pecos. We have lots of moving students that are on the go all the time. So I thank you guys for looking into that.
Well, we're all in this business because we really care about student success, and we want to see, we've all, all of us, we had a good college experience, and if we didn't, sometimes people are, motivated by trying to provide a better college experience for other people. But I feel like I was incredibly lucky to have a really, really good college experience. And I think that that has been a pivotal thing in shaping my life and what I've been able to do. And so, you know, to be able to return that and work in this field where you can help to, you know, knock down some roadblocks where you see them, and to be able to provide other resources to make your experience better. That, I mean, that it's just it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, as for popular 8-week courses, you know, tend to be courses like CPR, for instance. And that's a class that, you know, you have to take in person, or they don't even have to be 8 weeks. It's, you know, normally a day class or, you know, whatever. Are those classes going to be affected by this? Obviously, but
they will. What we'll try to do is push those back as much as we possibly can. But I think that, you know, as long as the order for 6 feet of distance, I think that, you know, that would be kind of a difficult thing to do. But if they can figure out a way to do it face to face, you know, with personal protective gear and, you know, figuring out the logistics of it, then we'll do it, because those courses are even more important now than they were before. And, you know, all allied health courses require you to have that kind of training. But, you know, just for your average person, I think they're really important now too.
Right, right. Now, since there's seems to be a plan in action to let students back on campus, you know, to get books and whatnot. Some students have belongings, personal belongings, in their lockers in the fitness center or in the lockers downstairs in front of the campus cupboard. When allowing students on campus to get books, how do you think we can get our students back their personal belongings that are in their lockers?
If somebody has something in there that you really need to get out, then we can probably make arrangements to do that. You know, honestly, Ian, we've been pretty much working that stuff out on an individual basis. If, you know, you just left a towel in there or something like that and you don't really have to have it right now, I'd say it was probably easier for everybody if you could just kind of let it go. But, you know, sometimes people keep things in there thinking they're going to be there every day or something that they really do need. And if that's the case, then I would say reach out to your instructor first, and then, you know, the right people will get involved, and, you know, we can make sure that you can get in there.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. I appreciate that. I know that that was a big concern because, you know, it happened so fast and everyone had to, you know, get out, and we left for a week and we never came back.
I know. You know, and it was so weird. I can tell you, you know, that week before spring break, you know, we were all like scrambling around on that Friday. Like, we kind of knew this was going to happen all week long. But we, you know, everybody's kind of waiting to see what everybody else does. And so, you know, we waited to see what happened with the public schools, and then you wait to see what, you know, and as we knew we were going to do this, then you start working on your messaging. So that doesn't just happen like, you know, like somebody just sits down and, you know, slaps something off on Friday afternoon. I mean, that was, you know, the message was being crafted all week long, because part of, you know, there were different parts that had to be communicated. This is what we're doing about these classes. This is what we're doing about these classes. This is what you can expect on Monday. Make sure that you contact your instructor. So we needed to get all those elements in it. And then, you know, we're scrambling on Friday to make sure everybody, look at this, make sure everybody's looked at it. And, you know, get the message out, you know, through email, and then posting in our website, and you know, kind of going from there. And then you always miss things, and you know, people are good to, you know, ask the right questions, and so then we have to address those things. And we all communicate a lot with our colleagues at other colleges too, so that we can, you know, have a semi-consistent approach to how we're doing all this.
Boy, so y'all are busy.
Yeah.
Well, you all are busy, and you all just don't sit around and look busy. You all are busy.
Well, and, you know, and it's been really stressful too, because, you know, you have to do the right thing. You know,
Right.
You want to, the first thing that everybody's looking at is making sure everybody's safe. And so if there's a risk we're not going to put people's health and safety in jeopardy for their class. It just doesn't, doesn't make any sense. So we have to, what some people may feel like is sort of an overreaction. I don't know that people think that so much anymore, but I think they might have early. And they're like, we don't even have that here. I'm like, well, we do. We just don't know about it.
Yeah.
So, we make adjustments, and you can, you're just finishing your course in a different way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, for our incoming students who don't know where to start, students getting out of high school, returning students, as it comes to the Accuplacer test, are there any plans for the Accuplacer test to go online to make it accessible to students? Are students going to be able to take the test while, on campus? How is the Accuplacer going to be?
So one thing we are looking at is figuring out how to do it online. And there are some ways that we can do it online, and so we'll be taking advantage of some of those. It's not ideal, but we can keep things going. But I think that this may be time for us to look at our system as we have in so many other ways and see what we can do, because I certainly wouldn't want to say that we're not going to have an entering a good entering fall class because nobody could take the Accuplacer. I mean, that would be insane. So, there are other things that we can do. We may have to get a little bit creative, and I think people are willing and able to do that.
Right. Great. That's another reoccurring concern that I see pop up within the student body is, how am I going to take my Accuplacer? I'm glad there's plans in the works for that.
Yeah.
Now, as a student, I think, there's times where I think, or I'll look and I'll say, gosh, I wasn't planning on taking this course. I need to, get this book. And, either financial aid had already been dispersed or whatever, resulting in myself having to buy the book myself.
Yeah, they're expensive.
They're expensive.
I'll be the first person to say that.
They are very expensive. So I'm wondering if there is a fund that's being looked at that students can apply to, ask for funds that will keep them in college. Because I know that, some students might not even be able to pay, a lab fee, and that could ruin their chances of taking the course, and that could ruin their chances of completing their degree. So are there any plans of a some sort of account or some sort of funds that are going to be available to students that we can sort of apply for, in a sense?
There are. So we were kind of working on this anyway. I know the colleges had kind of a small student emergency fund, but it didn't seem like it was very well publicized. There wasn't a lot of money in there. And I think, sometimes, when you talk about an emergency fund, to me, the most important thing is that you can access it quickly.
Yep.
If it's an emergency, you need it right now. You don't have time to do a, 3-month application process or something nuts like that.
Reviewed by
so the foundation was creating a student emergency fund before this whole pandemic started, and their intent was to try to raise $50,000 to get the fund started, and then really with Thomasina's help, looking at what the criteria would be for students to be able to receive the money, how we would do it, because she's very aware that those kinds of funds need to be, you have to have some kind of proof that you have an emergency, but not one of those things where they say, well, we need your last 3 years tax returns. Something nuts, something crazy like that to be able to get the money to you. So when this pandemic hit, the foundation really kind of upped its game. And so what they did is they've already allocated that $50,000 from existing foundation funds, and they're working on raising matching funds. And so Tomasina has already worked on an application process so that students can access this fund for emergency type situations. And it would include a lot of different things. The only thing it has to be, it has to be an emergency. And, you know, you can't use the funds to, you know, buy fun stuff or anything like that. But it could be used to fix your car or, you know, something that in normal circumstances would prevent you from going to class. Now, right now, I don't know that you could make a case that that would prevent you from going to class, but maybe buying a book or, you know, you know, we have a laptop checkout program that OIT and the library have kind of collaborated on, and they could, you know, provide more laptops to really enhance that, provide some, you know, hotspots that students could check out, because we really have to make, especially right now, those kinds of things available. But, you know, it could be available for, you know, people may need money for food. People may be short on a lot of different things, but it has to just be, you know, that there's been some type of an emergency that's put them in that situation. This whole COVID situation is clearly an emergency situation that has completely turned some people's lives upside down. You know, if you work in the food industry right now, it's a terrible time.
Right. It really is. And again, I'd like to thank you for creating something, you know, like that. That's just proving that SFCC truly does care for its student population and for its students. You know, we're there to do what's best for our student body, and making resources available, because we really do wish everyone to succeed. So how about the SFCC Foundation's Contract for a Better Tomorrow scholarship? Is that going to be affected, or is that going to be delayed with this?
As far as I know, that's moving ahead, and that we were working on the contract for a better tomorrow. There's an MOU that goes along with it, and it's being reviewed right now, and it, you know, just so that we can keep it going and everything. And, you know, that's a wonderful scholarship program. So we have every intention of keeping that going at the same capacity that it is right now, so that students can, you know, keep on going. You know, my goal would be, if I could have, you know, like a wildly significant goal, I would not like to see any student not be able to come to college here because they can't afford it. That just should not happen. We have ways to help people and to connect people with resources. And the hard part is, you know, making that match, you know, us finding students finding us, and knowing, you know, how to get those things. Because a lot of times I think people just think, I can't do it.
Right.
But but you can.
You can. And a lot of the times, you know, it's just that force of, or support. It's that support system of, you know, either an administrator, faculty, staff, family members pushing that individual towards their end goal. You know, because at the end of the day, we have the power to control what we do, and we all can succeed at the end of the day. Sometimes we all need an extra push.
Well, and I think you do a tremendous job at doing that too, Ethan. I've watched you and, you know, your fellow student government officers and participants in that, you know, really reaching out to other students and you know, helping to encourage them and support them. And you know, you're an accessible guy. If somebody wants to know where you go to get a particular service, if you don't know, you know who to ask.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Rowley. Thank you. We try and do the best of our abilities to reach out to the student body and to represent them, because, you know, we're their representatives.
Right.
So I honestly do miss being on campus, and
I know,
miss the student interaction, and miss, you know, our campus center meetings. We had, I feel, around 3 or 4, you know, planned. And I just, you know, miss shaking hands with the students, having the music on, and, you know, just that 1 hour long tiny celebration in the campus center I feel brings the student community together, and it just lightens up my day.
Well, we'll be back.
We'll be back soon. Now, for the long-awaited question from many students. What's happening with commencement?
So we, That is actually not quite as up in the air as you might imagine. So obviously we can't have commencement in May. All colleges have either canceled, postponed, or done something. So what we would like to do is we still want to have some sort of a celebration for the students who would be graduating this May, but the talk is to postpone it till the summer. So what we'd like to do is what's some type of a virtual graduation. I don't think that we will still be allowed to have 500 people in a room or 200 people in a room and have everybody come across the stage and shake a bunch of hands and all that. That's not going to be happening for a while. It may even look different in the fall. But what we could do is we could still, you can film, the graduation part with us going through the ceremony and everything, standing apart from each other and all that business. Yeah. And then when it's time for the conferring of the degrees and for the student, where students would walk through the line and get their degree and everything, you can use like a photo image of a student and, do like a really nice slideshow where you have each student who's graduating. And then you can even have, something about the student, you can, their degree and all that, maybe their plans, and kind of showcase each student that way and kind of hand diplomas out in some sort of fashion like that. So Thomasina and Kathleen Senna have been kind of talking about this and working on it. And I'll let you know that, we talked about a lot of schools, probably most schools around here are just postponing it and saying, well, everybody's welcome to come to the ceremony in December. And everybody is welcome to come to the ceremony in December. But we decided that we'd really like to do something for this group. We just, it'll take a little bit of time to plan that out and to really, have the capacity to do it. So it's tentatively planned for sometime in the summer.
Okay. It's tragic that we can't have the ceremony because I think it's such a special moment for all of us. It is
really, and it's special for all of us too.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty much the highlight of everybody's semester, when you work with students is to, you sit there and you're like, oh my gosh, he finally made it.
Yeah, right. For myself,
yeah.
Last commencement was so rewarding. I wasn't graduating, but, being a platform speaker, walking through the gym floor while you're seeing the graduates, circle around the top is such a moving moment. And it's so motivating, it really gave me that push for this next semester.
There you go.
And, standing there, I felt that relationship with the students, that bond. Some of them I know, some of them I don't know, but I see in passing. So, not getting that this semester is going to be tough, but I'm glad that there's something being looked at to really pay attention to the student and to give them their little moment of shine they deserve.
Right. So one thing I don't think we will be able to do, in my news watching time, I saw this virtual graduation that was being done, I think somewhere in China. And what they did was there was a robot that represented each student. And then on the top of the robot, they had, like a tablet that had the student's face on it.
Wow.
And so it looked like, these, little people or something that, it was the craziest thing ever, but it was, very high tech and cool. Yeah, there was a face right there on the top, and then they were all, moving through.
Well, I don't think we're that.
I don't think we're going to be able to do that.
I don't think we'll be able to do that, but I think we could still supply something special.
I do too. We could still do something nice.
We could still supply something.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Ali, I know we've talked about my hobbies. Have you picked up any more hobbies being in quarantine? Have you branched out and tried something new? Maybe?
I'm really ashamed to admit I haven't. I was talking to somebody, I had a phone meeting with somebody who was talking about how they picked up origami or something. And I thought, oh, if I tried to do origami here by myself, I would probably end up, throwing something through a window because I got so frustrated because I'm not good at that stuff. But I have been able to, run a little bit more, and, I have a little bit, when you don't have to leave your house, you do have that much more time in the day. And so I've taken advantage of that. And, things that I've wanted to read that I haven't had time to read, I've had a little bit more time for that. And I'm certainly not above binge watching either. I, watch stuff like, watch things and, but it would probably, I keep thinking, one of my friends gave me a jigsaw puzzle. And so, the first step was to open it up and then find all the sides and things like that.
Mission in
so I could still, I can have my laptop on and if it's something I just need to listen to and I'm not really commenting on, I can stand there and do stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like I'm really busy where my attention needs to be really focused on what I'm doing a lot during the day.
Good. I'm glad it feels like that for me as well. But however, I'm not as busy as you. So,
well, not every day is the same. Some days are certainly more, lined up meetings one by one after one than others are and everything. But I don't know. And then every now and then I just have to get out in my car and drive around or something. So I feel like I'm not going to lose my mind.
Right.
But, I've tried to follow the rules pretty closely.
Right. Yeah. To just stay home and 6 to 15 feet away from someone.
Yeah. I mean, if I go in, I think I've been to the grocery store twice since we've been doing this. And, in there, in and out, doing my business, get my stuff, get out of there. It's not a wandering around, talking to people kind of thing. And I don't know. And everybody else that's out seems like they're stressed too. Like, they're kind of worried and they want to just do the same thing. So it's just weird.
You can certainly feel it in the air.
Yeah, you can.
Feel what we're doing at SFCC is really positive. We're moving forward. We're supporting our students. Tomorrow, we're doing a care package distribution for.
Thank you for doing that. That's such a nice thing.
Of course, for 100 students are able to drive to the main campus of SFCC to drive around the roundabouts and drive in front of the West Wing entrance, where I will be present and I will be geared up with a mask and gloves, and I'm going to go ahead and set the package on the ground for them, and the student can get it themselves. And we're continuing to show that we are supporting our students through these hard times. So Dr. Rowley, I would like to thank you for joining me today in this conversation. It was a really lovely conversation.
Thank you for asking me. This was really fun.
It was lovely to talk
more
to
often.
you. Yes, it was lovely to talk to you. I miss seeing your face every day.
Yeah, well, we can do this whenever you want.
Okay.
All right.
I'll take you up on that.
All right.
Take you up on that. Now, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. It was a wonderful conversation. Hopefully, I was able to get some answers to some questions that seem to be repeated a lot from students. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time. Maybe we'll do a part 2.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.